There's a level of discipline that makes people look at you with respect and fear. Not because you're more talented, not because you're lucky, but because you keep doing what everyone else quits after 3 days. You know that kind of person, don't you? The one who shows up every day, same hour, same ritual, no complaints, no excuses, no noise. When others drop out by week 3, they keep moving forward as if nothing in the world could stop them. And you look at them and wonder, what kind of human is that? Today you'll find out, because there's an ancient system created by Zen monks in Japan that for centuries has forged people so disciplined, it's almost frightening. They call it gyoji, continuous practice without gaps. Once you understand it, you'll never break a habit again. But here's the warning. This system is not for everyone. To reach that level, you must kill a part of yourself. The weak part, the compromising part, the part that only tries, that part must die. And before I show you how it works, subscribe to the channel and tell me in the comments what habit you most want to build in your life. This helps a lot, and it shows me you're genuinely committed to change. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Stephen, the man who always starts over. The story begins with Stephen, a brilliant programmer, a man with a stable job, and a burning desire to change his life. But he had one fatal flaw. He could never stay disciplined. He read dozens of books on self-control, downloaded every habit tracker he could find, and yet nothing lasted. Day 1, full of fire. Day 3, he began to negotiate with himself. Day 5, just today, I'll rest. Day 10, he quit. What Stephen didn't realize was this. He wasn't fighting laziness. He was fighting the architecture of his own mind. Seneca once wrote, "There is no favorable wind for the sailor who doesn't know where he's going." And that was Stephen's curse. He kept changing direction, searching for a new method, a new system, hoping it would finally fix his life. But what destroyed him wasn't failure. It was the endless cycle of beginning again and again. Until one day, he discovered an ancient tradition practiced by Zen monks in Japan. They called it gyoji, continuous practice without interruption. Since the 13th century, every single morning at 3:30 a.m., a bell rings inside the Eiheiji temple. Not a single day has been missed. No one asks, "Should I meditate today?" No one bargains with themselves, because in their minds, it's not a choice, it's who they are. They understood something most of us never even notice. The human brain categorizes every action into 2 boxes, reversible and irreversible. If you see an action as reversible, you'll always leave room for negotiation. I'm tired today. I'll do it tomorrow. Missing one day won't matter. But once you decide that an action is irreversible, there's no longer a decision to make. You simply do it. Stephen became obsessed with this idea. He couldn't stop thinking, how can these monks keep this up for centuries without fail? It wasn't willpower. It wasn't motivation. It was something far deeper, a shift in identity, a transformation so profound that the question, should I do this, no longer exists. Listen carefully, because in the next part, I'll reveal the principle that made it possible. Chapter 2, The Principles of Unbreakable Discipline. Part 1, The Oath, the Power of Honor. Stephen realized his first mistake. He had always made promises, in silence. But silent promises carry no weight, no witnesses, no eyes watching, no shame when they're broken. So this time, he did something different. He wrote it down. I am the kind of person who meditates for 20 minutes every morning at 5 a.m. for 90 consecutive days. Then he signed it and posted it publicly. People laughed. His girlfriend said, "You're being dramatic." His co-workers joked, "3 days and you'll quit." But they didn't know that laughter saved him, because the human brain, as Harvard researchers have shown, reacts to public shame the same way it reacts to a threat to survival. We'd rather feel pain than lose honor. And that's when Stephen's discipline evolved into something primal. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself each morning, "Today I will meet the selfish, the deceitful, the ungrateful, yet I will remain true to my principles." That wasn't motivation, it was an oath, not to others, but to reason itself. When Stephen declared his vow to the world, he did the same. He placed reason on the throne and chained emotion to the seat below it. From that day forward, quitting was no longer an option. Giving up became more painful than continuing. But there was still one enemy left, one that couldn't be reasoned with: the body. Even when the mind was determined, the body fought back, with fatigue, with laziness, with the seductive pull of sleep. It wasn't weakness, it was biology. Every morning felt like climbing a hill with weights tied to his legs. Stephen knew he couldn't rely on motivation forever, so he learned the monk's second rule: non-negotiable hours, a sacred window of time, untouchable, unquestionable. The hour when the world sleeps and the discipline rise. Part 2, the fixed hour. The end of negotiation. Do you know what the true enemy of discipline is? It's not laziness. It's not weakness. It's negotiation. Your mind whispers, "Do it after breakfast. Maybe this afternoon. Tomorrow will be better." And every time you listen, you teach your brain one lesson: that hesitation is acceptable. Stephen realized this, so he chose 5 a.m., not because it's the most productive hour, but because it's the hour with no excuses, no messages, no emails, no invitations, just him and himself. The first week, his body rebelled. He was exhausted, irritable, doubting himself. Am I even doing the right thing? But by the second week, something changed. He started waking up before the alarm. His body understood. His brain surrendered. No more arguments, no more debate, just movement. Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it," and that's exactly what Stephen did. He lived within the framework of reason. A fixed hour isn't about optimization. It's about elimination. Eliminating the endless talk between you and your weaker self. Because once you remove the question of when, the only thing left is doing. Part 3, fixed actions, where discipline becomes instinct. The human mind dashes cunning. When it can no longer negotiate when to act, it starts negotiating what to do. Stephen still woke at 5 a.m., but sometimes he replaced meditation with reading, other days push-ups, sometimes journaling. And just like that, the mind won again, because variation feels productive. But in truth, it's the doorway through which weakness slips back in. So Stephen returned to Dogen, the Zen master who defined yogi. Dogen taught, when the mind still seeks change, it has not yet surrendered. The monks call it form, the sacred structure. They do the same act at the same time, in the same way. No improvisation, no novelty, no debate, because diversity isn't always creativity. Sometimes it's the death of consistency. So Stephen made a vow: 3 actions, every single day, 20 push-ups, 10 minutes of meditation, 10 minutes of reading. No more, no less. Same time, same order. By the 3rd week, his mind rebelled. A voice whispered, "This is stupid. You're not a robot. You need variety." But Stephen stayed silent. He kept going because he knew that boredom is the doorway to transformation. By week 6, something extraordinary happened. He no longer thought about the routine. He simply did it. He woke up, and his body took over. Discipline was no longer effort. It had become a neurological rhythm, an instinct. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When the soul learns to live in harmony with reason, it no longer fears repetition, it finds freedom and order." The repetition others call monotony is where your will is forged into metal. Modern neuroscience now echoes what the Stoics already knew. MIT researchers found that after roughly 66 days of repeating an action in the same context, the basal ganglia, the brain's habit center, takes control. At that point, you're no longer deciding to act. You simply act. That is when discipline ceases to be a choice and becomes who you are. Part 4, continuous practice. What separates the great from the quitters? By now, Stephen's routine was almost automatic. His body moved before his mind even spoke. Until one morning, he caught the flu. Another day, a business trip. And that's the moment when most people fall apart. "I'll start again when I feel better. Next week, I'll pick it up." That is the trap, because that tiny gap, that single break in the chain, is exactly where your old self sneaks back in. Seneca wrote, "A river does not stop flowing, whether full or shallow. The moment it stops, it ceases to be a river." Stephen finally understood. Discipline wasn't about perfection. It was about continuity. On day 40, he did push-ups in an airport bathroom. He meditated in his car. He read a single page on the plane. It wasn't perfect, but it was consistent. Because when you skip a day, you're not resting. You're teaching your instincts that quitting is allowed. But when you keep going, even in chaos, even in pain, you're teaching your mind that action is destiny. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And that freedom, that quiet, unshakable power, isn't built on easy days. It's forged in the hardest ones. So now I'll ask you, can you commit to one discipline, a single unbroken practice, for the next 90 days? If your answer is yes, comment below. Tell us what it will be. But if you're hesitating, if there's a voice in your head whispering excuses, then stay with me. Because in the next part, we'll silence that voice forever. Part 5, prepare before the storm. When crisis strikes, you don't have time to think. And that is the moment when real discipline is tested. The Stoics had a name for this: premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of misfortune. The wise don't wait for the storm to arrive. They prepare while the sky is still clear. Stephen wrote down every scenario that could break his streak: sick, light workout, no space, train in the bathroom, girlfriend complaining, meditate when she sleeps, working late, read while waiting for the elevator. No debate, no overthinking, just execution. Because every question already had an answer. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Prepare your mind for every possibility, and when it arrives, welcome it as one already foreseen." When you've already decided how to respond, chaos loses its power. You no longer need willpower. You only need to follow the program you've written. A study from Yale confirms this. When an action is pre-decided, the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that controls willpower, doesn't burn out. The behavior becomes reflex, and that changes everything. You stop living in anxiety and start living in certainty. No more emotional reaction, only calm execution. By day 70, Stephen no longer felt like he was maintaining a habit. He simply did it. Like a machine, but one powered by the highest force known to man, the will of a disciplined mind. Chapter 3, Identity Transformation, the Death of the Old Self. Day 90. Stephen had completed 3 months. without missing a single day. But what was truly terrifying wasn't the 90-day streak itself. It was the fact that he could no longer live any other way. You know you've changed when the things you once forced yourself to do become as natural as breathing. You no longer practice meditation. You are a meditator. You no longer read every morning. You are a reader. You no longer train discipline. You are discipline. Epictetus said, "Don't expect others to understand you. It is enough that you know who you are." Stephen no longer needed to explain himself. People could feel it. Co-workers called him rigid. Friends said he was too serious. But he only smiled. Because when others call you extreme, it simply means you've stepped beyond their comfort zone. Seneca wrote, "He who is called mad by the crowd is often the only one who is truly awake." True discipline will always make others uncomfortable because it shines a light on the lack of discipline in themselves. But Stephen understood. He wasn't doing this to impress anyone, not to be admired, not to control others. He did it for one reason: to become free. Not the kind of freedom that comes from power, but the kind that comes from mastery, the mastery of oneself. Conclusion: the death and rebirth of the self. At this level, you no longer need motivation. You no longer need time management hacks. You no longer need optimization strategies. You need only one thing: to kill the old self. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Death is not to be feared. What should be feared is never living in accordance with your true nature." Discipline doesn't kill joy, it kills chaos. It burns away excuses, destroys negotiation, and silences the endless inner noise, until what remains is a human being of terrifying calm, clear, steady, unbreakable. When you reach this level, people will whisper, "You've changed. You're not normal anymore." Smile, because that's the moment you've stepped beyond their world. Discipline isn't forcing yourself to act every day. It's reaching a state where you simply cannot live otherwise. Now ask yourself, are you ready to kill the weaker version of you? The one that says, "I'll start tomorrow." Just this once. Everyone does it. Because if you don't kill it, it will kill you, slowly, through 1,000 small acts of hesitation. Discipline is not a chain. It's the blade that cuts you free from mediocrity. Remember the 5 pillars of Gyoji, the same 5 pillars at the heart of Stoicism. 1. Public commitment. Honor keeps you from betraying yourself. 2. Fixed hours. Reason doesn't negotiate with emotion. 3. Fixed actions. Repetition builds freedom. 4. Unbroken practice. Continuity is the breath of a strong soul. 5. Preparation before the storm. Foresight turns chaos into calm. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is right, do it. If it is wrong, don't." The path is simple. The question is, do you have the courage to live that simply? Because when you do, when your actions move like ritual, when your choices no longer require negotiation, when discipline flows through your veins like blood, you will become something rare, something unshakable. People will look at you with quiet fear, not because you threaten them, but because your existence reminds them of everything they surrendered. True discipline doesn't need to be seen. It can be felt. And when someone asks you, "How do you do it?" just smile on it and say, "I don't do it anymore. I am it." If this message spoke to you, don't just watch and move on. Take one step closer to your disciplined self. Like this video if it inspired you. Subscribe so you never lose sight of who you're becoming. And in the comments, write just 4 words. I begin my discipline. Because the journey doesn't start when you're ready. It starts when you decide